Well, we're glad you're with us. AFA Today on AFR Talk. Kevin McCullough, I was just relating to you the shocking story of Alan Colmes predicting that Hillary Clinton won't even run. And seriously, if that turns out to be the case, he will end up looking like the biggest genius ever, because I don't think anybody expected anyone to be saying that. But we're glad you're with us. It's another day filled with headlines that matter, like this one coming up at the Calgary Stampede here in July. And I want to know if you would actually eat this. Deep fried donut bacon cheeseburgers. Brent, would you eat one of those? Deep fried donut bacon cheeseburgers. Now, aside from running the slight possibility that you could end up dead from a heart attack from it, I think I would be very inclined to indulge in the deep fried donut cheeseburger, simply because it sounds awesome, and I think that we need more awesome in our lives today. And if it did kill me, hey, what a way to go. But I'd be inclined. So anyway, that's been on my mind. I saw that at 5 o'clock this morning. I can't get it off my brain. Like, there's no place in New York that makes them. They're going to serve them at the Calgary Stampede. You got to go to Canada to get one this summer. But I seriously want to try a deep fried donut bacon cheeseburger. I just think it would be cool. All right, last night, very unusual set of circumstances. They had something going on in the Capitol that we hadn't seen a lot of. And let's bring you a snippet of that. We've got, last night they brought up the now current commissioner of the IRS, the executive director of the IRS, who has come in post Lois Lerner and is supposedly trying to figure out all the mess that was left behind. But he's actually there to specifically try to answer questions about emails. And when most of the country believes that emails were destroyed on purpose as opposed to possibly being lost on accident, he's got an uphill climb to go. It didn't get any better last night. And Trey Gowdy, who happens to be the congressman that's also going to be in charge of the Benghazi investigation, took him to task a little bit. In fact, in this first clip, he talks about the idea of dealing with something that has a lot of appearances of being criminal to it. Take a listen to this.
You have already said multiple times today that there was no evidence that you found of any criminal wrongdoing. I want you to tell me what criminal statutes you've evaluated.
I have not looked at any.
Well, then how can you possibly tell our fellow citizens that there's no criminal wrongdoing if you don't even know what statutes to look at?
Because I've seen no evidence that anyone consciously...
Well, how would you know what elements of the crime existed? You don't even know what statutes are at play. I'm going to ask you again. What statutes have you evaluated?
I think you can rely on common sense that nothing I have seen...
Common sense. Instead of the criminal code, you want to rely on common sense. No, Mr. You can shake your head all you want to, Commissioner. You have said today that there's no evidence of criminal wrongdoing. And I'm asking you what criminal statutes you have reviewed to reach that conclusion.
I've reviewed no criminal statute.
All right, so you don't have any idea whether there's any criminal conduct or not because you don't know the elements of the offense.
I've seen no evidence of wrongdoing.
Oh, well, that's very different than no evidence of criminal misconduct, Commissioner.
Well, it seems to me if you haven't done wrongdoing, it'd be pretty hard to argue that you've had some criminal violation if you didn't.
Well, what did Lois Lerner mean when she said perhaps the FEC will save the day?
I have no idea
what did she say? What did she mean when she said we need a project, but we need to be careful that it doesn't appear to be per se political? You don't think that's a potential violation of 18242?
I have no idea if it...
Because you haven't looked at 18242, and you don't have any idea, Commissioner. You don't have any idea whether there's any criminal wrongdoing or not.
With regard to the production of the evidence, the production of Lois Lerner emails, I have seen no evidence of wrongdoing. What else
Well,
went on?
if there were, that would be a separate criminal offense.
What else went on with Lois Lerner, I said in the past.
So what you're saying is you don't have any idea whether she engaged in criminal wrongdoing. You're just saying that you did not engage in any with respect to the email.
All right, and that's Trey Gowdy. And for those of you watching on the channel or at home on the web, I apologize that these aren't in video. I thought that we had that for today. We'll get that next time. But that's Trey Gowdy, congressman from South Carolina, and the very simple version of what happened pretty much with congressperson after congressperson throughout the evening, the IRS being called to account for the fact that they are saying there was no wrongdoing. They're asking us to believe that these emails just got lost and that there's nothing that they can really say otherwise. Now, admittedly, Mr. Koskinen was not on duty when Lois Lerner was running things. He did not. He wasn't in the position he's in now. He obviously has a mess to try to clean up and to try to, in some way, make better. However, I would think, and I could be just wrong on this, but it would be my impression that you would put yourself in a better situation if you were willing to be more transparent. More talkative about the things that are there. Actually understand the complaints that maybe there's been wrongdoing here. It seems to me there's a very tin ear from the left of the political spectrum on this. And here's why that's really dangerous, friends. 888-589-8840. If you have a reaction to, well, we haven't really talked about this much, but any of the emails related, situations related to the scandal, we'll take your calls, 888-589-8840. But at the end of the day, this isn't about being left or right. And it can't be. The people that control the IRS have more power than almost any other agency within the federal government. They have the power to take your earnings at the point of a gun, sometimes on very speculative reasons. According to, methodologies that they construct the math around. When you think about the control that the IRS has, it is actually rather frightening to understand the behemoth that they are and what they are allowed to do and how they are allowed to behave, given the average person's ability to defend themselves or not defend themselves. 888-589-8840. Now, before we go to your calls on that, Vin from Oklahoma, and I apologize I didn't have the call screen ready earlier, but Vin's been holding on in Oklahoma. He wants to discuss Hillary. Hi, Vin. Welcome. You're on with Kevin McCullough. Glad you're here.
Hi, Kevin. How are you?
I'm doing well. Appreciate you calling.
That's the best name in the world. That's one of my son's names is Kevin. So,
oh, good.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Yes, about Hillary, I just wanted to make a point here, and I want to throw it out here to your listening audiences. She's been hanging around for 25 years off of her husband's coattails. She's been just running around, and of course, she's been the Secretary of State, and now we've seen the fruits of her labor. After her, she's been to every country in the world and hasn't done a thing. And my question to the people out there, because it's going to take the American people to do something about this whole administration, and of course the Democrats and so forth, is can anyone name one accomplishment that she has achieved while she was Secretary of State?
No, I think average per.
And I think the answer to that is absolutely zero, as far as Hillary Clinton is concerned.
Right. So what's your point, Ben?
What's my point? We have people that aren't doing anything in office. We have 2 more years of a president who said that his administration would be more transparent and it's more corruption. He said he's going to transform this country. And by the end of the 2 years, Kevin, there's going to be $21 trillion in debt. 60 to 90 million Americans are going to be out of work. And people between 50 and 60, 65 right now have given up, not even looking for a job anymore because there are no jobs, because they have no job program. There's no decision on the Keystone Pipeline. There's no foreign policy. We have the highest taxes on the most successful people in America. Now talk about corruption. Obamacare, Benghazi, the IRS, the NSA, the VA.
Right, Vin. I've said
the immigration.
Vin. I've said all of that, and I've even said that it's time to call him to account and impeach him. So what are you wanting to add to that conversation?
With this site.
I'm sorry?
I'm not affiliated with this site, but I want to inform you and the American people. There's a site that people can go to. It's called www.
All right, I appreciate the call, Vin. I was trying to figure out what you were trying to say, and you cleverly avoided my question. It's fine to be all passionate, and I agree with almost everything that you were saying there. I was just trying to figure out where you were taking the conversation. Remembering that this platform isn't just, a free town hall ability to just, advertise whatever you want to put out there. Let's talk to Lee in Florida. Hi, Lee. Welcome. You're on with Kevin McCullough. Glad you're here.
Hey, good morning or good afternoon.
Hey, whatever it is, it's always good to talk to you.
Yeah, I'm traveling on I-10 homeward bound from California, and Vin sounded pretty emotional there, but I tell you that I'm begging the question on who are we going to hold accountable for this nonsense that we've got everywhere in this country, and it's gone out of control. It really has, because people forget. For those of us over 50, it's almost, don't they remember when Governor Clinton was in Arkansas and everything that happened, and his wife was with him then, and yada, 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 all that stuff. And here we are, we've got our country in the shape it's in, and my grandchildren are growing up for what? So who is it, Kevin, we can hold accountable for all this stuff?
Well, and that's why a few weeks ago when I said after many years of delay on what a lot of listeners wanted me to do, a lot of listeners wanted me to jump on the impeachment bandwagon much, much earlier. They wanted me to be talking about it in 2009 when he'd just come to office, 2010, 2011. And I didn't. I've explained this several times. In fact, I explained it to the talk industry on Friday, but here's what I believe. When I was when he was first elected, I didn't think he'd done anything that merited impeachment. I felt like he was doing things that winners do, and many of them annoy me because he was creating policy that were things I disagreed with. But at the end of the day, you win elections, you get to make decisions. So you get to appoint judges. You win elections, you get to push for legislation. You win elections, you get to go around and raise money. You get to talk to people, and you get to say things. You get the bully pulpit of the presidency. The stuff that he was doing early on was all stuff you're allowed to do. And while I was irritated by it, annoyed by it, didn't like it, didn't want to continue to hear it, I didn't have much of a choice because my guy had not won. The people I wanted to win did not win. That started to cross lines about a year and a half ago, because when the NSA was found to be snooping on the American people, when the Justice Department was revealed to have been tapping the phones of the largest news-gathering organization, when you began to see treacherous ideas be put forward, like letting your Navy SEAL and your ambassador and retired airman just, go to their death in Benghazi and not really raise a finger to do anything about it, and especially when, and this is where it really pushed me over the edge, when you let 5 of the world's worst terrorists go back to the fight that you're saying doesn't exist, that they are all saying they're rejoining up with. See, part of the idea of winning a fight against evil is to understand that you're in a battle against it. And I'm not sure that this president understands the scope of the battle of evil that we are up against by way of Al-Qaeda and the current terrorist forces that are ongoing. Now, I've got some guys in my office that have worked in a lot of different places. One of them reads Paul Krugman of the New York Times every day, and he's asking me, he's like, Kev, this is terrible. He said, what are we going to do? I said, of course it's terrible. Iraq is turning into a literal hell on earth. There's, and that's not a swear word. That's an actual place. The actual concept of actual torment and torture and everything else that you can stack up. That's what Iraq's turning into. And when you see what they are doing to innocent people, they 1,700 Iraqi security forces surrender, give up their arms, surrender, decide that they're going to, not fight them. They take their arms from them. They make them all line up. They shoot them all in the back of the head and dump them into a mass grave. I mean, this is the kind of evil that we are up against. And unless you have moral courage to acknowledge it, to address it, and to rebuff it, you have a lot of intellectual liberals on the East Coast wringing their hands going, Kev, what do we do? What do we do? First thing we got to do is acknowledge what evil is. And then draw a line in the sand and say, you don't get to do that anymore. Will we be able to do it? I don't know. The president seems very disinclined to do anything that requires us to take a stand. That's always put America in a really bad spot in years past. I'm Kevin McCullough. So glad you're with us. Stay with us here on AFA Today on AFR Talk.